And I said, come on over, you'll say.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Town of Portland podcast. We're live here in the Town of Portland podcast studio at Portland High School, and this is going to be episode number 49. And this is our first one of April, and with us on the phone is our Director of Public Health from the Chatham Health District, Mr. Russ Melmed. And, Russ, you got a quite tight timeline, so we're going to get you on here, and we're going to get Ryan after you guys on. So that's great. So how's things going?
Things are going pretty well. Weather has shifted a little bit, so we've got some warm, sunny weather coming today, and
yep.
I'm in the car, and the sun is shining, and I'm doing pretty well at the moment.
And it's Friday.
And it's Friday, even better.
There you go. So what's happening? I know we have a new, XB a variant that's coming on?
Yeah, so, with COVID-19 there are a few what we're calling sub-lineages of the Omicron variant. So, what's circulating is still Omicron, but there are a couple sub-lineages that are circulating that, BA2 is the one that's dominant right now.
Yep.
It's a little bit more transmissible than the original Omicron. And there's some other sub-lineages that the CDC and public health officials are watching to see if that are particularly concerning. At this point in time, they don't know for sure about any of the others besides BA2. But if anybody was wondering, if we were going to have another wave and when that might happen, I'm here to tell you that it's actually happening right now.
Yes.
But the last 3 weeks, we've started to see cases tick up just a little bit, and that's because of this BA2 sublineage or subvariant of Omicron. It's a little bit more transmissible than the original Omicron. We're not really seeing a lot of it. We're not really seeing a lot of infections, but we are seeing an uptick. And, I think, at this point, I'm not overly concerned that this is going to cause a big, massive wave of infections and hospitalizations, only because if we had so many people get infected with the original Omicron from around November through February.
Sure.
And BA2 is not thought to be able to sidestep immunity from the natural infection from original Omicron. So many people got Omicron that I don't think this subvariant is going to have very many places to go.
Uh-huh.
So, if you were infected with Omicron, over the winter, and you're exposed to this subvariant, you're thought to be pretty well protected from it. So,
right.
I don't think we're going to experience a massive wave this time.
Yep.
We are going to uptick, and we're seeing an uptick in hospitalizations as well. But if you have been vaccinated and you've had your booster, and or if you were infected with Omicron just this winter, I wouldn't be particularly concerned. I wouldn't, cancel travel plans or anything like that.
Right.
If you're somebody who is particularly vulnerable to severe disease, you might consider, especially if you're over 50 years old and it's been 4 months since your last booster, you should consider getting an additional booster because that has been authorized for people.
Sure. And that fourth booster is available now, correct?
It is, yeah. So for Moderna and Johnson & Johnson and Pfizer vaccines, if you are 4 months past your initial booster, you are authorized to get that additional booster again if you're 50 years old or older.
Okay.
Also, for certain people who are particularly vulnerable, people who have immune suppressive disorders and certain chronic conditions, they may be eligible for a fourth dose, even if they're under 50 years old. So, that's what's out there right now. We are doing vaccine clinics where, if you want a booster, we're going to give you a booster. And, again, this is a little bit different from the last booster that was authorized. That came with a very strong recommendation from FDA and CDC to get a booster.
Right.
This booster came with a little bit of a weaker note, which just said you're eligible,
yep.
It's authorized, but it didn't come with a strong recommendation. And so that's a little bit different this time. So what we're telling people at Chatham Health District is, in particular, if you are somebody who is eligible for the booster and you are highly vulnerable to severe disease because of a chronic condition you may have,
Mm-hmm.
or if you live with somebody who falls in that category and you really want to protect them, you should strongly consider getting an additional booster because it will boost your immunity to the point where you're less likely to even get an infection.
Right.
If you're boosted already, you're still thought to be very well protected from severe disease. So that's the difference here. I would just say if you're really concerned about getting infected because you might bring it to somebody else who you're around who's very vulnerable, you should really think about getting another booster.
Sure, sure. Now, are you guys running vaccination clinics now on your usual basis, or how's that being run, or as needed?
We are. We haven't really seen a huge surge in demand for these additional boosters. We've gotten a couple phone calls from people asking, but, for example, when the initial boosters were authorized, we went around to each of our senior centers and we ran separate clinics there for older adults.
Uh-huh.
We really haven't seen that demand.
Yep.
And access to the vaccines is pretty ubiquitous at this point. You can get it from us. You can get it at any pharmacy. You can get it from many doctors' offices at this point. So I think having to run sort of mass vaccination clinics in large venues it really doesn't seem to be necessary at this point. But people can go onto our website and find out where we're doing our next clinic, and they can go and get it there.
Sure, sure. Now, I know you've been meeting with a lot of the schools, Russ. Now, have everybody pretty much relaxed the mask mandates and so forth?
They have every one of the schools in Chatham Health District is a mask optional policy at this point. I just met with all our superintendents yesterday, in fact, and things are going very well. They really haven't seen any clusters or outbreaks. The transmission of COVID-19 doesn't seem to be, accelerating in our schools, which was the concern, of course, when we went mask optional, is would we see transmission accelerate in our schools to the point where we would see outbreaks or sustained chains of transmission? And, I'm happy to report that that's not happened.
Right.
That may be simply a matter because we saw many people get infected over the winter before we went mask optional, including many young kids.
Right.
So many school-age kids already had Omicron, over the winter. And so, like I said before, virus may just not have many places to go at this point, even in schools where kids are sitting next to each other unmasked for hours. So I think that's the silver lining of the really dark winter we went through, is that, even though we saw a lot of infections, a lot of hospitalizations, and yes, a lot of fatalities, right now that's serving our population well because we have good population level immunity from that and from vaccination. So I think we're all doing pretty well right now.
That's great. That's great. Now across the pond, I think they've got some severe upticks as far as on this new, and typically the United States usually lags 3 or 4 weeks behind them. Is that something that we have to be concerned with over here?
That is correct. We usually lag behind those what's going on in Europe. I think what we have going for us is, 4 or 6 weeks from now, we're going to be in May, June.
Right.
So we have, I would put our Connecticut weather in May and June up against any part of the country in terms of the best weather in the United States. So we have amazing springtime weather where people are spending a lot of time outdoors and not clustering together indoors. So I think if and when we see some of these sublineages of Omicron cross the Atlantic and start circulating here, I think that's going to coincide with a time when we're not engaging in the riskiest kind of behavior.
Yeah.
We're going to be outdoors mostly. So I'm not overly concerned, but again, we could see an uptick. That is something we're watching, and so I think people need to be mindful that that this virus has been unpredictable. It's been, cyclical. It's been unpredictable, and so we need to be mindful of what might be coming down the pike, and that's why I'm saying, think about getting that booster, especially if you're high risk or live with someone who's high risk.
Sure.
And now is the time, if you haven't been vaccinated yet, now is the time to get vaccinated because we just don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I know with spring break coming up. In fact, I think we're going on spring break this week and so forth. A lot of people traveling. Are the airlines mandating masks, or what has been your
They
observation?
still are. So airlines are still mandating masks. Cruise lines are still mandating testing, not masks. So you still have to be fully vaccinated, and you have to take a COVID-19 test to get on a cruise ship. airlines are still mandating masks, but there is some conversation happening right now at the FAA and at the CDC about if and when they might lift the mask requirement on airlines. So it could happen any time, really, but right now you still do have to be masked, and there are still testing requirements for some international travel as well. So if you're planning on traveling with your family or by yourself over the spring holiday, you should pay attention to what those requirements are, but be mindful that they could change in any moment.
Yeah, well, that's great. Yeah, and especially, like you say, with New England weather, I mean, typically wait 10 minutes, it'll change, but we've got some warm weather coming up and, people getting outside and so forth. I know a lot of the high schools now are just winding up or spinning up their spring sports schedule and so forth. So, again, we're going to get a lot of outside exposure, as far as nice fresh air. So hopefully that will bode well for us.
That's right. I'm really hopeful that schools, and I know that some schools have in their COVID-19 response policies right now, shifting to opening windows, for example, in the school buildings when it gets warmer. They also have outdoor classroom options. Mm-hmm. So if they can, they might shift, for example, chorus or other high-risk type of activities to being outdoors instead of indoors. So we've got all that going for us right now.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. All right, Russ. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for taking time. And I know you're starting your weekend and going from there. I know we had a scheduling conflict with Ryan yesterday and so forth. But I appreciate you taking time and jumping in first thing today. So we'll let you get on with your weekend, and we're going to turn it over to Ryan. We have our first selectman, Mr. Ryan Curley, here live in the studio, live and in the flesh. So anyway, have a great weekend, Russ, and we'll catch you on the flip fly.
Thanks so much, Dave. Have a good weekend.
You as well, bud.
Take care, Russ.
All right, thanks. See you, Ryan.
Hey there, Ryan. How are you, bud?
Good. How you doing, Dave?
Well, we're here.
Here in the studio.
We're here in the studio. We got through the budget, and so tell us what's happening, man.
Yeah, we sure did. It's been it was my first budget season. It's not over yet, of course.
Yeah.
But the Board of Selectmen has finished with their deliberations, and they have adopted a budget, which just happened at our April 6th meeting this week.
Yep.
And so now the budget that I presented then was modified by the Board of Selectmen, and then now that goes to a town meeting, which will be on May 2nd, and then it will go to a referendum, which will be on May 9th.
Okay.
And so I just want to touch on the budget. So I presented a budget on March 1st to the town and to the Board of Selectmen. Mm-hmm. And so that had, at the time, the total increase in expenditures that I had proposed was a 2.82% increase in spending. And there was a decent amount in my proposal for capital improvement projects in town, which long-range capital has been meeting, and it's such an important issue for us because it's the future we need to plan for.
Absolutely.
And so one of the things that the Board of Selectmen looked at when going over my numbers were potentially looking at ways that we could fund some capital projects, but maybe not put them in the budget, but maybe fund them through an alternative. Exactly. And I really would like to thank the Board of Selectmen and the Board of Education for all of their hard work, and certainly Dr. Britton as well, because I know how difficult budgets are. You never want to increase taxes at all. I wish I could lower them. But it's
right.
Just. Unfortunately, the nature of the economy, especially this year, is that things are going up, and they're going up quickly in some ways. And so, in that regard, it was somewhat of a difficult year when utilities, oil, all that has skyrocketed. Exactly. So, and certainly I would like to thank our finance director, Tom Robinson, because Tom is behind the scenes, and he is he works so hard day in and day out. And we just had an audit report this week.
Yes.
And we couldn't have gotten a better audit.
No, it was a glowing report.
A glowing, and that's a testament to the hard work that Tom puts in. And so, I believe we're in a very healthy financial shape for the town. And so this budget that the Board of Selectmen adopted, I think, reflects that. So what the Board of Selectmen proposed was a 2.27% increase in the general government expenditures.
Okay.
A 2.57% increase in the Board of Education expenditures, which overall this is an increase of 2.45% over the fiscal year 2022 expenditures.
Okay.
So this was an interesting year for us as well because we had a revaluation.
Yes.
And so our grand list, I'm pleased to report, grew by 11.3%. So we added over $96 million to our grand list this year, and that's growth that you see in motor vehicles as well as home values, property.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
And so I believe that this helped. Our mill rate will be going down because of that. Even though expenditures are going up a little bit, the mill rate will be coming down, and so that happens in a revaluation year. So I think that we're in very good shape. So like I said, there was some items that were on the capital improvement side that I think we can fund through alternative sources. And so the budget that we put forward was every line item was looked at. There was nothing that, we turned over every stone to try to find savings. And I really want to commend the Board of Selectmen for doing that due diligence on this because it's a lot of work, and certainly I know that we need to be mindful for our residents that when everything is going up, we're trying to keep costs in check as much as we possibly can. And so, I touched on there's a couple other things that impacted this budget. One of which I know is the Police Accountability Act, which means that we had to bring on some temporary help for the police body cameras that are going to be beginning on July 1. So that was something that impacted that, and as well as some other services that have gone up as well. And like I said, utilities, even I've learned a lot about trash disposal recently, and I can tell you that when I came in back in November, I knew really not too much about the waste industry, and I've had a little baptism under fire on that, and so those costs are going up, not as much hopefully as we had originally anticipated, but certainly the long-term outlook for waste disposal in Connecticut is. It's not optimistic at the moment, but hopefully there'll be some long-term solutions that come out from it.
Well, Portland residents are lucky. You look at our transfer station, and if you compare us to other towns, especially East Hampton, Hebron, Marlborough, and so forth, their transfer station is only open 2 days, 3 days a week. We're open 6 days a week. And basically the accommodations that we provide our residents go far and above a lot of other towns. So there's a lot to be thankful for, and the residents, again, as you say, we've got a lot of families and a lot of residents in town that are on fixed income. So we have to be mindful of everything, not only on the governmental side but on the waste side too, as far as that goes. So I know you've been working hard on that and getting that going, but our transfer station is a shining star in a lot of other towns. We have a lot to be proud of there.
Absolutely. No, they do a great job over there. And if you ever, I have been there on a Saturday, and it's like a party over there.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think anyone who's visited the transfer station on a weekend can attest to that as well. It's always fun to go over there and to see those guys. So
sure.
I just want to encourage residents to reach out about the budget. I'm available to answer any questions about anything, and I know the Board of Selectmen is, and our superintendent as well. We really want to make sure that our residents are informed because, like I said, we put a lot of time and effort into this, and I really want to make sure that residents know when they go to vote on the budget, what exactly they're voting on.
For sure.
Exactly.
Yep.
So, there's a lot of good stuff. And so, like I said, the referendum date, I'm going to double check because it should be May 9th,
Yeah,
and
I
it,
think
and it
that's-
is.
yeah.
And so the polls will be open from 6 a.m. until 8 p.m.
8 p.m., yeah.
And they'll be here where we are now at
high school.
It'll be at the high school, and it will be, I believe, in the middle school
cafeteria.
Well, I don't know if it'll be in the cafeteria because it's such a typically, Dave, there's a smaller turnout,
Okay.
and so I believe it'll be in either the band room or the
Oh,
chorus room.
okay. All right.
So we'll have to see, but that's something I would have to check with the registrar of voters on. So Pauline and Athena, I know, are hard at work on that.
Yeah.
So, but that's coming, and also I'd like to point out that there is that town meeting on May 2nd, and that's if any residents want to come and voice any opinions that they may have on the budget.
Yep.
That would be the time to do that as well.
Now, is that town meeting going to be up here also?
It's going to be up here. Yep.
Okay, sure. Yeah,
Yep.
that'd be great. And you also got some great news this year. And I know the high school track has been a kind of a thorn in everybody's side here for so many years. But you got some really good news. So tell us on that.
Yeah, no, we got some terrific news on this, and I was in a meeting and I got a phone call on my cell phone, and it was Senator Needleman calling me, and I said, "Oh, excuse me, when the senator's calling,
You answer the phone.
you should answer the phone." And he had some terrific news that the bond council, the governor's bond council, had approved us, the town, for funding of $500,000. It's actually the amount is $500,736 to replace the track at Portland High School.
Oh, great.
And this is something that I know so many people in town use the track, myself included.
Me too.
You too, Dave. I know you're up there. You're up there pretty early.
Yeah, I'm
I
up
think.
there at 5 every morning.
You got to wake up early to catch
Yeah.
Dave. But no, this is so good for the town because when I ran, I was saying that we had to replace this track, and I really, when I did the budget and when we worked on this, I wanted to replace the track without impacting our residents.
Yeah.
And with the budget, and so this goes a long way to do that. So this funding, we don't have an exact dollar amount yet. That's something that we're currently working on.
Yeah.
But this is going to go a very long way towards the replacement of the track.
Yeah.
And so certainly I want to thank Representative Carpino and Senator Needleman as well. The two of them, as well as Dr. Britton and myself, we had a meeting. I want to say it was about 3 weeks back that we were all on a Zoom call together talking about the track and the needs. Mm-hmm. And this was an ongoing request that had been discussed, I believe, over a year. I think Susan Bransfield, when she was first select woman, also had put in a request, started the conversation, and so I remember going through the bond council's, the bond commission's last report, looking for Portland desperately and not seeing Portland.
Yeah.
And that was, I want to say, back in December, I think, was when they met last. Uh-huh. And so coming into this, we knew that we had a shot at getting the funding.
Yep.
And I just got to say, it was just awesome to find out that we got this, because I know how important it is for so many of our residents. And I know how hard that Representative Carpino and Senator Needleman worked on this. And certainly I want to thank the governor as well as the bond council for approving this, because it's so important for our residents. And
Sure.
and I know Selectman Mike Pelton is on the case because he's also a coach.
A coach on a track team. Well, and that's the thing. The track has been a safety issue for the school system. Hasn't been able to hold home track meets because of the safety issues of the track for over 2 years.
Exactly. I know I twisted my ankle on the inside lane about a year ago, and I can attest.
There's a pothole.
There's a little pothole
on turn 3.
Yeah. So I'll just say, I know that the Board of Education is working on an RFQ right now, request for qualifications, and So we're going to be going out, and once we get that, we'll get an RFP out. And so as soon as we, I don't want to waste a lot of time. I know
No.
Dr. Britton doesn't want to waste any time on this either.
Right.
There's still some variables, as you know, as we touched upon. The costs are rising everywhere. So
Yes.
the sooner that we can get this tracked, the better, because everything's going up, and we want to make sure that we maximize the money that's been given to us here.
Sure. Yeah.
So we're going to be working diligently and quickly, and I hope to have more news to share on that soon as far as a timetable to
Sure.
get this. I know everybody wants this fix, and all I can say right now is we're working
on it.
We
Absolutely.
are working on it, but certainly it's very good news for the town, so we're very happy about that.
Sure. And also give us an update on the water issues. I mean, we just had RFPs come in. I think we had a bid opening on that.
We did, yes. Actually, I just had a meeting with Bob, and he'll be, you'll see it on Monday, I think. He's going to be
At our
at the Water and Sewer Commission meeting. Yep. So we had, we went through an RFP process, and we selected, it ended up being between two
Firms.
engineering firms. And so we ended up requesting prices from both. We got approval from the state to do that.
Yep.
And we're following, because we have this $250,000 grant
Yeah.
from DPH, that we have to follow, certain
Protocols.
Exactly. And so we're near the end of that, and I believe we'll have that finalized by probably Monday, I would imagine, after
Great.
your meeting. We want to bring it before the Water and Sewer Commission.
Sure.
and have you guys, weigh in on that.
Yep.
And certainly, both of the finalists were very well qualified,
Yep.
can do the job. And so I believe that we're in a very good place to get our own water source here.
Yeah.
And so we're gonna act quickly on that too.
Yeah, we're
because
burning daylight.
We're burning daylight. I know I don't need to tell you, Dave.
Yeah.
And so yeah, that's kind of where we're at on that. And so we have the numbers, we have everything, we're ready to go, and
Fantastic.
and that's going to be something else that's very good for the town in the long run. So.
Awesome. Well, I think we've covered a lot, so which is good. Now we've got actually this weekend we have the Park and Rec is having their Easter egg hunt, and that's going to be tomorrow. But the rain date is Sunday, so I'm not sure if there's a decision been made to push it to the rain date. But as of now, I believe it's still scheduled for tomorrow, and that's going to be at the new recreation complex out on Route 17. So that's going to be the first time that this is being held out there. So that'll be a really nice venue for it as far as that goes. So nice. And we've I don't know, we have our Memorial Day parade that's going to be coming up in May. So I think Sarah Sterry has been working with her committee on that. So that is good.
Looking forward to that as well. I know we just got approval from the state to hold it, so
That's
great.
good. That's it. So get your sneakers on, Ryan. So we're going to be having you
Get your walking shoes, right?
Absolutely. So, all right. Anything else that you want to cover here? This is again believe it or not, this is our episode number 49.
Wow.
It's amazing. So
What are we doing for 50, Dave?
I don't know. This is the golden 50. Yeah, we're going to have to sit down and do some brainstorming here.
have to have some balloons or some celebration or something.
Yes. Maybe we'll do a video podcast.
There you go.
We can go from there rather than have the still pictures. I know we're still being aired on the Comcast channel on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is in fact I was just talking with Tyler over at the Comcast channel, and Wednesdays is pretty much Portland Day. We have our Board of Selectmen's meetings. We have our podcasts. I have my water podcast being aired over there. So, he considers Wednesday our Portland Day. So, you can go on the scroll. So that's great.
That's great.
All right. Well, thank you, Ryan. I appreciate it. And thanks for coming up, taking the time. I know you've been running around here and there and, like I say, get baptism by fire with the budget and all that stuff and stuff. So hopefully we get our citizens out and getting that budget voted in place, and we'll be good to go.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Dave, and enjoy the weekend, everyone, and don't forget to vote on May 9th.
Great. All right. That about wraps up our episode number 49, ladies and gentlemen. And we're live here with our first selectman, Mr. Ryan Curley. This is, again, our podcasts are aired on the Comcast channel as far as that goes. And it's also aired on our Town of Portland YouTube channel. So all of our podcasts are there as well as our Board of Selectmen's meetings and Board of Ed meetings and all of that kind of good stuff. So take advantage, get out there and give us a listen. So thanks so much, and stay safe and be well. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Dave Kuzminski. Please tune in every week for new and relevant conversations about the town of Portland. You can find us at portlandct.org or at YouTube/Town of Portland, and now wherever you listen to your podcasts. If you've enjoyed our podcast, please consider subscribing and sharing with friends. This podcast was produced by the Town Tech Educational Partnership Program, which is a partnership between Portland High School and the Portland Town Hall. If you're looking to start a podcast for your business or organization, check out towntech.org/podcast to learn more.